We are Geekcentric, and you can be too. Love ya. Get home safe, guys. Peace.
Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our special Behind the Geeks episode for Marvel Studios Thunderbolts. My name is Justin, and if you're joining us for the first time, well, we are Geekcentric, a podcast covering the world of movies, TV shows, toys, collectibles, gaming, and all things geek-centric. And in today's special episode, we are diving into Marvel Studios Thunderbolts with two back-to-back interviews. First, we welcome director Jake Schreier, who joins us and shares his entry point into the MCU, the emotional themes that anchor the film, particularly grief, and how he approached shaping such a layered, character-driven story. Then I sit down with Hannah John-Kamen, aka Ghost, and Lewis Pullman, who plays Bob, and we talk about their roles in Thunderbolts. Hannah reflects on returning to Ava Starr and the evolution of Ghost, while Lewis talks about joining the MCU and the challenges of keeping secrets around his mysterious new character, and both share their thoughts around the emotional heartbeat of the story that brings this unlikely team together for what I think is Marvel's most human ensemble story. I'm so grateful for the time that I had with Jake and Hannah and Lewis. A huge thanks to our friends at Marvel Studios Canada for setting up this interview, as well as allowing me to screen the movie early for review. If you've been following us on our Instagram, you might know that I just got back from Japan. Me, Nate, and Darcy were there covering Star Wars Celebration. However, I came back and they stayed. They actually had a 3-week trip planned. So, which means for our spoiler-free review, I had no geeks to join us. I unfortunately, Meg was tied up with work stuff. So I band together a team of geeks from friends of the show. Matt Rohrbeck joined us from the Untitled Movie Podcast, as well as Aisha Shabish from Agents of Fandom. Both joined me for a spoiler-free review. It was an absolute blast. That's on podcast feeds now. And we will have another interview to post later, hopefully by the end of this week, at the time of listening this, maybe early next week. Really just depends on how quickly I get the footage. I can't tell you much about it. All I can say is that this one is in person. That's it. That is all. So more Thunderbolts to come. I am working to see if I can maybe assemble another team for a spoiler-filled discussion, because let me tell you, those post-credit scenes, if you haven't seen the movie and you don't know what I'm talking about, be sure to stick around for both. There is one that is a mid-credit scene, and then there is a post-credit scene, so after the credits roll. That one's really important. That's all I'm going to say. But like I was mentioning before, we did cover Star Wars Celebration thanks to our friends at Disney Studios Canada who sent us out there. That episode is out now and available on podcast feeds, as well as a bunch of our coverage, which is available on our Twitter account at GeekcentricYT and on Instagram at We Are Geekcentric. You can see our coverage, see what we saw, and some of the fun stuff that we saw from the convention. And keeping in line with Star Wars, we do have our Andor spoiler-free review available on podcast feeds, as well as an interview with Genevieve O'Reilly and Tony Gilroy. That's available on podcast feeds and on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/geekcentric, as well as these interviews. If you want to see me chat with Jake and you want to see me chat with Hannah and Lewis, you can head over to our YouTube channel and check out those interviews. There's a lot more interviews there as well. And listen, if you're enjoying what we're doing here at Geekcentric, you like listening to our episodes, feel free to write a review. And what really helps us out is giving us a 5-star review. It gets the word of Geekcentric out. We want to share the love. We want to get as many people on board. So we really appreciate that. And we thank you for joining us. Awesome. Well, with that all out of the way, let's get into these interviews. First up is our interview with Jake Schreier. Hi, Jake.
Hi,
How
Justin.
are you, man?
I'm good.
It's so great to meet you, dude. Congratulations on the Thunderbolts. It is such a unique and emotional addition to the MCU, and I'm very excited that I have the opportunity to talk to you
Oh, thank
about
you.
it. Look, every director who joins the MCU, I feel like there's a personal connection to the story that draws them into this project. For you, what was that entry point for Thunderbolts? Was it was it the characters, a theme, or a particular idea that you felt like when you read this, you were like, I could do this story?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing was just the cast. I was like, I would do anything to work with that cast in any context. But then I feel like, once really getting into it and once Sentry was a part of the film, there's a friend of mine that I just found the things that he had gone through so kind of resonant with this idea of this, incredibly powerful superhero whose only real kryptonite is this dark side that comes with those great heights whenever that kind of Sentry side comes in. And we tried to map this idea of sort of a duality between hubris and despair onto it and needing to find some balance in between those two things, where, it's more about learning to kind of accept yourself and be all right with being, Bob than it is about trying to achieve on those greater heights that we're used to rooting for within one of these films. And that felt like such an interesting flip on like where a superhero movie goes, that it felt like you could really do something different with that.
Yeah, I could not agree more with the statement of flipping the script and kind of going a different direction with it. I think, another question I have here is around grief, actually. One thing that really stood out to me is just how this film handles grief in its own way. And it feels like this very quiet but powerful current that's running through this whole story. And it's shaping these characters, it's uniting these characters. you know, I guess using that as an anchor, how difficult or how easy was it to kind of find that leverage of being able to weave that into, a Marvel movie? Because I think everyone expects this to be something that's bigger and more superhero oriented.
Well, I think, what's so great about this world is they've created these characters that you care so much about. And they have, they've found a way, even in movies like Endgame, like there's rich humor in that. And then there's obviously like a lot of sadness. I think it felt like if we could take that even further, and when you have this group of actors and knowing when Florence is at the core of your movie, that you have someone that can absolutely bridge that divide and take you to those places in a way that feels honest, it felt like it was worth going for. And then the rest was just sort of, I was coming off of doing this show Beef with one of my good friends, Lee Sung-jin, and he had this sort of unshakable faith when he was making that it was not a niche show, that exploring ideas of isolation and emptiness at this point was really something more universal than we might expect. And so it felt like, okay, let's put that to the test. Let's see if that can work on an even larger scale. But we had a reference point for being able to manage those disparate tones and bring them all together in one tent. And, something I think about is like the people that I know that, including myself, well, I don't know if I think I'm very funny, but some of the people I know who struggle the most with the issues in this film are also some of the funniest people I know. And so it would feel almost dishonest to the characters and to the world to have it be flat or sad, that there needs to be rich humor amidst that for it to feel honest to the story that we're telling.
Yeah, it can't all just be, doom and gloom. And I think that it balances. It's the personality that you find through humor and that and the grief as well, that just it's the mixing of the two. And I love that you brought up Beef, because you could see the layers of connection between it. Jake, that's all my time. I am so grateful for having the opportunity to chat with you and getting more insight. I think, again, like I was saying, just Thunderbolts offers something really special. It's beyond its sort of bold superhero approach, it's really just feels incredibly human. So thank you for all of that and everything you brought to this film.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad it connected. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Have a great day, man.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Next is our interview with Hannah John-Kamen, aka Ghost, and newcomer to the MCU, Lewis Pullman, who plays Bob. Hey, Hannah. Hey, Lewis. How are you both doing today?
Hi,
Right, how are you doing?
there.
I'm doing great. It is such a pleasure to meet you both, and congratulations on this film. It is such an unexpected story for the MCU, I gotta say, and I think both of your performances, along with the entire cast, just brought such humanity to this story that features extraordinary characters.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hannah, I'd love to just start with you really quickly. The last time we saw Ava or Ghost was Ant-Man and the Wasp, and
Yeah.
she was she was going through it at
Yeah,
that time.
yeah.
We catch up with her here with the Thunderbolts. What's it been like to kind of rediscover this character again for this film?
It's been amazing. I mean, to come back in this movie and kind of start off kind of stronger than ever for Ghost. Because, yeah, in Ant-Man and the Wasp, she was very much surviving and really surviving, losing control as the movie and the story progressed in that. And I mean, well, she had a different hairstyle. She had this balayage kind of blonde at the bottom, which was literally physically she was like dying from the hair down upwards. So in this movie, she's got healthy brune, like, hair, full of nutrients. But no, in this movie, I think she's in control of her power. She is dangerous. She is that. I think that's what is the most dangerous thing about her, and it's changed her whole posture, her persona, her calm patience, and her energy. So it's been so wonderful as an actor to come back and really rediscover what Ghost is now, and still be, she's Ava Starr, but we don't just start off with her being the same Ava, because she's grown and she's in this new place where she's gonna figure this one out with these people.
Yeah, there's a lot to figure out, and Lewis, you're joining the MCU, and as you join the MCU, that comes with secrecy, and it feels like there's been a lot of secrecy around your character. How have you navigated that? And talking about it, and also now, even just on the flip side, now people are seeing this film. How does it feel to finally be able to kind of talk about it a little bit more openly?
It's interesting. I think there is some relief in the beginning that you're like, okay, well, I can't talk about really anything. So there's no chance I'm going to spoil anything. I don't want to ruin the experience for audience members. Even now that I can talk about it, it's I don't want to talk about it too much, because I do think that there's so much. There's so much to say about walking into a movie not knowing it that much about it. I think, which is hard to do in this day and age with trailers and all the little snippets in the TikTok, the everything, the what we call the internet, and so, but it is also gratifying to be able to be like, okay, no, I can actually kind of, because in many ways when you can't talk about it, it doesn't really feel real. Like, did that even happen? Right. And so now getting to talk about it, it's been fun.
That's awesome. Well, I'm happy that you're able to talk about it, because you along with the entire cast, again, you just guys gave such human performances. So again, without giving away too much, I really do feel like this film has a rooted theme of talking about grief, and I think a lot of that heart and unraveling, like you said, Hannah, with Ava, like she's in control of her powers, but there's other things that she hasn't really resolved. How did you guys connect with those human parts of your character? Like, did you draw anything personal, or did you connect with anything in any way to kind of really understand how grief has kind of shaped these characters?
Well, I think definitely. I mean, yeah, there's grief, and there's definitely. I mean, I won't go too personal, but just with Ghost, she's never been around people. She's never felt that confident. She's never felt that valid before. I mean, she comes in like that, but there's also with these characters, which is beautiful and layered, especially with kind of Walker's characters, this front and this kind of, we're all kind of like putting up this front as these like, people and assassins, and what we've done bad things, and we're bad, and we're kind of, I think Ghost in a really kind of weird way kind of plays up to that a bit, like with her kind of cold sarcasm, and I don't need anyone in this life, and but actually what she's really yearning for is a sense of family, a sense of the things that she hasn't ever experienced before, and that she feels robbed from in life, and it's that kind of deserving feeling of actually, no, we do deserve it. We can't also feel bad for wanting to be a hero. You can't even kind of punish yourself for that idea of it as well. And I think there's a real big relatability to that. And, wanting something good for yourself, or going, do you know what, why can't I be, a hero after, be forgiven and have a second chance and have another, because, at the end of the day, we're all I mean, her is human. I mean, Ghost is not very human. She is, but. And I think with that, with the rehearsal process, Jake really gave that, really nurtured that and, gave us that time. We had so much time to really figure that out with our characters and what it means for us and what we bring to this table. But yeah,
Yeah, well said.
your character has a has a,
Oh, that's
Yeah,
has a big.
there's a lot to probably unravel with Bob, and I think that again, I think Ava, you were touching on it. I think everyone has a desire to want to be something more, but
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily feel worth it. And I use air quotes around that because they do matter, and I think they cohesively elevate each other to make each other better.
Uh-huh.
So that's my time, guys. I really appreciate again you taking the time to answer some questions. Again, you guys poured so much of yourselves into these characters. I can see it, and it really does show. So again, thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining us on
Thank
the
you.
Geekcentric
Appreciate
podcast.
that.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Nice to meet you. Bye
All right,
bye.
guys.